see construction sites everywhere at the central one. I'll show you one graph. I'm an architect background, so I'm not at all familiar with graphs. I'm not very good in reading them. But this is something, this is the only slide where I want to show you and try to explain it to you. This has really been some kind of shock for me, an ethical question as an architect. This is a dissertation made in our Department of Built Environment at Aalto University by Erkki Aalto. And the question is about the emissions of construction. He made a calculation, so simulating the future. What does it mean when we construct, when we make new housing areas? And here we that's the cumulative emissions, lifelong in these building cases, which are, you can see the cases are 5 different types there. There is a normal base case, which is the standard we are building at that time, 2012, a low energy building, passive house building, and then there is a housing area without doing anything, so it just people are living in that house, so it's mostly energy consumption for heating. And then there is one comparative study also, this one, which means that we renovate a residential area from 60s. So, case as it is, so we live in, just continue living in an old house, we renovate the old house, maybe for example this house, or then 3 different versions of building a new area. About, I can't remember, maybe it was 300 households in each of these cases. And the problem is, I don't know if somebody of you see what is the problem here when we think about the emissions. We should very rapidly now cut down our emissions. And what is the problem if you look at this? It doesn't cut anything, even though however energy efficient we build. It is a terrible peak in the very beginning. When we start to build, there is a huge peak of emission in each construction project we are doing. So the problem is that if we have to quickly cut down our emissions, we shouldn't build actually anything, just continue living in our old houses. Is that sustainable or not? That's something I would like to ask you to consider. The fact is that in the name of the urbanization is continuing, and we are really, people are moving towards cities, and we are really building all the time. New houses, put the next one. So our environment very much look like in the next picture. Around here in Keilaniemi area, there are huge plants here. And if you then think about the peak, what it causes, that is the challenge. It's a very big challenge for architects. This is our environment and what happens all the time, everywhere in our Helsinki region. And I would like to make the question for you, the next slide, to consider the green building or the possibilities, for example, to instead of building new, we should consider, for example, of greenery, increasing the amount of greenery in our cities. And the question is, last slide, what if we did not build any new building by 2042? It's not a dystopia, I hope. I hope it's a utopia. And I would like to positively think this. What does it mean if we really somehow cut down our construction and start to live in this environment as it is at the moment? This was my provocative good question.
Is there something to ask already, Aija, or comment now?
Yes, please.
Does it mean that the people should stay in the rural areas and not to move to bigger cities?
We can discuss that, but there are I think two points in this, that building new if people move from a place to another, it means that, and we need more new construction in cities as we do at the moment in some of the cities, so that makes the peaks. And then on the other hand, if there are a lot of unused infrastructure and buildings which become empty in other communities, so that's all, there are resources in those. So I think it's quite a terrible situation with the built environment we have. And in the name of densification, for example, sustainability, we densify our communities, it's really a paradox, I think, an ethical question.
Slow down the urbanization.
Yeah, but it's a question, how do we do it? We know that it's very difficult to do that, and I think this question is to be discussed here.
Yes.
It's a very difficult question. Yes,
I'd
please.
like to put the same point. You are trying to frame
The building
the
environment.
building sector
Yeah.
in a kind of, how should we say, a kind of picture about the whole way we are doing and living our society. And actually, of course, the building sector is just one very narrow piece of that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
it's the tail of the dog. So if we want to change the dog, we should do that first, and perhaps the tail will wag slightly different.
Yeah, exactly. But now we then invent. What is the other? What is if building is only the 5%? So what is that 95? What is our future relying on? As an architect, we normally always have a building as a solution for making the future. But if it wasn't this, and this is my question, it's a tricky question, I think.
Aki.
Well, okay, I'll try this again. Yeah, I was thinking of the kind of more sustainable building materials and or then greener energy and things like that. But they is the problem then that they're going to be too slow?
Yeah, that is exactly the point. That is the point, that if we have to make rapid cuts, so that's why I'm sure that, for example, our material production improves all the time. Our industrial processes are more and more efficient. So in the future, we have better ways of preparing our materials. But at the moment, of course, the statistic is from 5 years or 7 years. So it is, and it's improving the situation. But at the moment, when there is a huge change in our environment, so that is it takes from the whole life cycle of building, the production, the construction time is 1/3, and it is going to decrease in the future.
Super. Thank you. Then we go further. There's Karoliina, Korppoo.
So, hello everyone, I'm Karoliina. I've mainly done work as a game designer with city building games. So kind of that was my profession for about 7 years. So I know a lot about like what looks like a city, what feels like a city, what kind of things people usually imagine when we tell them that they can build their own city. Like what are the ideas that people have when we allow them, like say like this is your sandbox, build anything you want to. Where are they coming from? But all in all, what I'm here to discuss is my current project, which is exploring the kind of area between gaming and reading. So my storytelling has always been my thing, and now I will start by doing the timer so I don't spend too much time. Excellent. So storytelling. To go to the future, I will first tell you a bit about the past. So when we're talking about interactive storytelling, what first comes to mind is that it's something new. It's like innovative stuff. But if you think about people like gathering around a campfire, telling stories, like I'm telling you a story, isn't it interactive? When I see your faces, when I'm proceeding with the story, wouldn't I change the story if I see that you're getting bored, or if people are like, why isn't the hero doing this and this? But it would be so easy. Like in these kinds of storytelling environments, I believe that people have change the stories. So it's not a linear thing that you just recite from memory, but more like you see how the audience is doing and be like, well, let's skip this one scene and go to the next one or whatever. So, and that's basically what I want to bring on mobile devices. So what my team is doing is that we are building a platform that allows authors, basically anyone with an idea, to write a story and choose if they want to have it non-linear. So if they want to have branching places in the story, branch it, pull some branches together, allow for the person experiencing the story to choose something inside of that. And that's just, it brings something more. People are already reading on mobile devices. They have e-readers, Kindles, tablets, all of these things, and they are reading mainly linear texts. But is that necessary? When we have all of these options, you don't have to use this thing for a linear text. You can do other things. You can do branching, and then you can get feedback to whoever wrote the story on like what kind of choices are people making, so that they can maybe even adjust what kind of things they want to write in the future. Because the traditional storytelling industry is mainly like you make a movie, book, comic book, you ship it, and then you look like, is someone buying it? Oh yes, they are. And that's good. But for the creative mind creating the stories, it's not that easy to know like what part is actually working. Why are they buying it? What is the thing that they enjoy? And with this interactive tool that we're building, the authors might have more info about that. Like what choices are interesting, are some choices never taken? And all in all, to create a system where it's more of a like discussion between the author and the experiencer, the reader, than just like I am the author who presents my work, I give it to you, and you can experience it in exactly the way I can. And that is 3 minutes. Thank you.
I'm Sara, and there is my wonderful team, and we are aiming to build a more sustainable and centric approach to our future and the future of smart cities. Our name and our team is LuxTurrim 5G, and what we are facing is what are the current challenge of cities and how cities face many problems nowadays, such as overpopulated cities, pollution, sustainable concerns, traffic, and many others.
If it doesn't work, just shout.
All right, okay. So what we wonder is, what does a city actually require to become smart? And how can we actually transform these city problems into an opportunity to act, and how to transform a city that we have nowadays into a smart city? So by tackling this, we realize that it's important to build this enabler, the smart and digital and physical backbone. For that, we are working with many partners, such as Nokia and many others, and they already developed some prototypes that will be able to enable that future. What we are doing is ideating the next generation prototype that it will be urban financial collection and smart collection that will provide us this infrastructure for smart cities. In order to reach that, we want to do something different. We want to focus in the user. So when we think about smart cities, we are always very focused in technology. But in this concern, we want to build a nice environment for people and think from people to the smart city. So we want to build the city from citizens to citizens. So with this in mind, we are not only focused in where are the city's interests, so for example like weather monitoring, pollution controls, the safety and security services, and many others, but we also want to bring the user-centered approach, and for that we want to enable social and cultural cohesion among the citizens. With that in mind, we first have to understand what is actually the city structure. And by presenting this graphic, what we analyze is what are the city structures that actually need some new services. So we start by understanding what is the downtown, what is the industrial area, what are the residential areas and the commuting areas, and how can we actually provide services that the users and the citizens need. By doing that, what we are currently doing is we design these services, and by understanding these needs, we move to the actual like urban furniture. So what we're trying to do is, as I said in the beginning, it's a backbone that will enable the development of smart cities. So it's not only about the service or the product, it's how can we combine two and through the technology provide a sustainable future for the cities, but also for the citizens.
So thank you. Are there any reflections now?
I think that everything that you can imagine is a possible dream. I think this is kind of key thing, and those dreams could come true in 24th of February after that. And then I think here after money, it is one challenge we thought about some 25 years here in Otaniemi, and I think it's very interesting time, but of course we are, let's say, very used to this money, and some are, let's say, kind of attached to it very, very much. And I think the era after money, it's clear that the role of money has become marginal. What does it mean then? It's a dream. Era of love. I think it stems from hippies and so on maybe, but a new kind of, I think, friendship and empathy rules. And wars and violence are near extinction. And how this is possible, I think if we compare it for this Me Too movement, for example, or climate movement, I think movements against war would be at least as important and as possible. I'm wondering why it hasn't happened. Here our empowerment of human, us, augmented good human, better me, hopefully you also, and then let's say added to this solar powered personal mobile, personal protection assistant, and circular regeneration unit that is regenerating our food, our beverage, our air we are breathing as necessary. Here are indoor cities or villages. To be able to live indoors in all weathers, all seasons, I think in Helsinki it might be, or this area, but just outside you have the outdoors. Healthy, pleasant, everything nearby, ecological, circular and self-sustained naturally. Here our own time, that we can, let's say, decide how we use our own time, and I define it like, let's say, 90% of our time not used to earn money. It's close to that first era there, time after money, 90%. It's only the earning. And what's surprising to me, has been surprising, this is a reality today in Finland. Full-time working person during his lifetime, her lifetime, he is working 10% of living hours. Or if we take out the sleeping time of 8 hours a day, then it's 15%. 85% of your life is outside of the work. For me, it's surprising. The second and last slide, towards the 24th of February, we have had this evolution, you know very well. Who believes on this? We are related to the, let's say, apes. Then now we have the techno evolution, I think. We have super memory. We can remember things we don't know even of. Help of the net and so on. Super hearing. We can hear things wherever and even things that don't exist. Supervision, the same thing. New senses. This is something I'm wondering, what kind of senses do we get? And how we feel. Super intelligence, super skills, super power. Not the big states, I don't mean that, but we have, with the help of technology, super keys and locks. Actually, those doors open that has to open, and those that not, they don't open. Super trainer. You know, the personal trainers and so on. But this is now with the help of digital technology mainly. Super assistant. These exist, as you know. The earlier, let's say, versions. Super interpreter or mediator. Help to make friends. Not like Tinder, but real friends. Super guardians. And naturally then super teams, super networks, super communities. I think this is how I feel that technology will make us very, very powerful as beings. And we can live, let's say, a self-contained life if we like, of course, but I don't like to live alone.
What to think. And well, I'm gonna walk you through in a very schooly way, a 3 minute, because I was given 3 minutes in this too. So 3 minutes film school. 3 minutes film school. Yes. So screenwriting is the first part of filmmaking. It starts with screenwriting. Is the ideation and conceptualization of the story. Even though filmmaking is a collaborative art form, screenwriting can be executed individually but also collaboratively. And scripts are always written in the present tense. This is very important. I will come back to that. Still, screenwriting is temporarily always writing the future. And this is where it comes to the future studies and scenarios. And in this sense, future research and screenwriting have the same philosophical basis. So, the idea, the topic, the motive of the film. And now I'm talking about your short stories, your short films, your task that you are given after this. So this is to help you to write your own mind film later on today. So that now you have your impressions, your stories, and your situations that you imagined in the first to the music that you draw and wrote to the music. And we will use them as a starting point. And if we were professional screenwriters, we would look for different things for our inspiration. For example, some writers start on a very rational level. It can be a theme or even a statement or a message. It can be a very personal value that clashes against the reality. On the other hand, for some writers, the idea of a screenplay comes like a revelation. It can be a key image, a line of dialogue, or a piece of music. The writer can also have a strong experience of something that was given or received. Screenwriting can even be experienced as clairvoyance or prophecy. And this is, I'm going to go back to when I'm later and talk about this what happened with Emre. So I'll let you take a minute to read the beginning of the screenplay for the film Blade Runner. And the funny thing is that Emre showed us this clip from the beginning of Blade Runner, and yesterday I found this on internet and put it on my slide, and I had no idea that Emre is going to use exactly the same thing in his pitch.
I spoiled your presentation.
No, actually, it just adds to it, so this is very good. So take a minute, and we can go back to this if you wish, but as you can see, it is written in present tense. And it's because what you see is what happens is what you see on the screen. So this is what you need to write also. It's present tense. Even the back flashes that are widely used in films, they are told in present tense. The next rule is to show, not tell. Film is a visual art form. You need to show everything. On screen, you cannot see the inner thoughts and feelings of a character, but you need to turn them into visual details or action. The drama that makes the audience understand and relate to the character lies between the scenes and in the story. And this causes the third rule: depiction of the events is very economical, and the words and the events the script describes have to be loaded with meanings. This is the less is more principle, which also helps the writer to rule out the details that do not serve the story. And then you need to describe the milieu and the set. The depiction consists of visual and auditory details. Remember that the God is in the details. And in your stories, you will need the protagonist. Simply put, it's the main character. The protagonist makes the key decisions in the story and faces the consequences of her decisions. She's the primary agent in the story and encounters the most obstacles. The main character is the one the viewer follows and the one she or he relates to. And then you will need the antagonist. The antagonist will give obstacles and complications to the protagonist. The antagonist can be a or he or a she or even an it or a community that will create conflicts that tests the protagonist and reveals the strengths and weaknesses that the protagonist's character holds. And then we can go to the assignment that you do today. So now you have your impressions, drawn and written, your stories and situations that you imagined, wrote and brought to the music. And those can be your prophecies. Let's use them as a starting point. Then take a personal problem, a personal conflict, or a personal dream. It can be anything that makes you curious, angry, hopeful, or hopeless. What would you want to change in the world? What should be different in 22 years? It may already be in your impression that you draw or wrote, but it can also be something else. In that case, you can use your impressions as mood boards or studies on the circumstances around your conflict. What kind of world are we living in 2024? What kind of people, what kind of built environment, what kind of trees, what kind of birds, what kind of rivers, what kind of technology, what kind of values will there be in Espoo in 2 decades? So write your own utopia that takes place in 24th of February 2024. And remember that your intention is energy.
A slight note, it's 42, we're looking at 24 is tomorrow.
Yeah.
The speed is increasing.
You see this right date everywhere else.
Yeah. Sure.
This was antagonist.
Yeah. So remember that your intention is energy. All that we can imagine is intention, and it leads to action in form or another. So, and the assignment is to write either prose, a written story, maximum 1 page, or a poem, maximum 1 page. And it can also be an object, an artifact that you build, and there is some aid to that. Is there, Erkki?
Yeah, there are toolboxes when we go to the group work
Yeah.
in each of the tables.
Yeah. So it's not limited to writing this assignment, and you have working time of 10 minutes now, I suppose.
Yeah, it was this individual work.
This is individual work
Yeah.
now, and then we'll gather back to.
Or you can do it by sitting if you